I get
There we go.
the
Come on now.
sheer dominance, and I love Shaq. Shaq is my personal favorite center of all time. But
Mhm.
what makes y'all say Shaq over Tim?
That was
I
tough.
th- I think my biggest argument for Shaq is that we have never seen someone as dominant as him in like the modern sense. And like it wasn't like he was going against bums or anything. Like we saw all the other centers that he was just like putting to shame. Um, I think that like I genuinely think that if you took, and this is no disrespect to Kobe Bryant, if you took Kobe Bryant off those Lakers teams and replaced him with like Trace McGrady or a healthy Grant Hill, I still think they win like two of those three. Like maybe it's not in succession, maybe it's like um broken up, like whatever. But I still think they win at least two because the team around them was good enough. I think if you take Shaq off of that team and replace it with like, I mean, who's the next best center at that time?
Yao Ming,
I don't know if the
healthy Yao
Lakers.
Ming.
I don't think the Lakers win a single chip.
Who's the next
Like,
best center with around Shaq? That wasn't like an old Hakeem in Toronto, or who's he battling with?
like Alonzo
Greg
Mourning,
Ostertag,
Maybe
yeah,
Gordon,
like
Joe.
Joe Prisbilla. Like,
like
sorry.
or even just the or even don't even not even
Oh
the
my God.
center, like the next best big. You know what I mean? Like who's the next big? Like maybe if you put Tim on that team, they still. I mean, Tim in the triangle, sure, but like it's still like, yo, they're not like that team. I not to say Kobe didn't contribute to anything, but like that team was Shaq first, second, and then Kobe third. Like he was just such a dominant. I mean, dude, he dunked on five people. Like what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so he doesn't have the career longevity just because, like, you know, quite simply, he got lazy towards the end and all that kind of stuff. And but like, I just think he's the most dominant force we've ever seen in the NBA, and like that holds pretty high rank for me. And he has four chips to go on top of that.
Yeah. Sorry, you have your finger up.
I was just gonna say, so for me, Shaq over Tim for me is dominance. I just think that because of Shaq being the most dominant in the way that he did it, I just think that had more impact. I mean, not on the game. I mean, they changed a lot of rules, you know, because of Shaq, or they had to adjust the game because of Shaq more than Tim. I'm not saying it's super far, but I feel like that dominance aspect, he just did it in such a dominant way that's what puts him over Tim for me. But to the point about those teams being Shaq teams, I think as much as obviously Shaq was the guy, if that's the terminology that you want to use, I think that I wouldn't say it's a discredit, but I think sometimes it might be undervalued or understated that Shaq don't really get those rings without what Kobe does. It ain't to say that Shaq isn't the force that he is, but I think Kobe's role in actually bringing that 3P home is a bit understated in regards to like him being placed and one of them being like higher than the other for me. Like that's kind of why my ranking is the way it is, with other factors as well. But that's why Shaq is over Tim. But to that point about the teams, I think that Kobe's value to them needs to be or should be recognized a little bit more, or at least acknowledged a little bit more. I say that.
Yeah, I'm not saying like he doesn't add anything at all to those teams because he obviously does, right? Like he was the you know, he's the one that sort of kept Shaq in line or like, all right, you need to do this, you need to do that, that sort of thing. Like he was the driving force. But at the same time, like, I mean, let's be real, Steve, like we were also having debates on like Kobe versus T Mac at one point. Like it was close. Like it wasn't like a clear cut answer at like it is now. Like Grant Hill was another dude that we were looking at like, yo, like I mean if
We're
you
playing a what if
again
game at
we're
that point. I think we just
right,
playing.
but that's not
Yeah.
yeah, no, for
What was
sure,
I
for
doing looking
sure.
at Allen Houston? Thought he
Yeah.
was
So
old.
you are debating with someone with a Mamba mentality poster behind them.
I know it's a losing battle. I understand. And I'm not saying
When I
that
had
like
Kobe at 10, I was like, oh, he's gonna hate this as soon as I saw it.
I'm not trying to take anything away from Kobe. Like obviously, he added a lot. He was the perfect sort of piece next to Shaq to keep Shaq going, and as well as to have someone to throw it into to him when Shaq got in foul trouble or if he was gassed or whatever, and wasn't all that kind of stuff. Not taking anything away. I just think that like the ability for like the ability that Shaq had, like Shaq is so good that he slacked off for a good amount of his career and was out of shape, and we're still talking about him as a top 10 player. You know what I mean? Like he said himself, if he took the game more serious, like he had a chance to be the best player ever if he really took the game as seriously as he
If
could.
he shot like 75% from the line,
his numbers look a lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
if his conditioning level was the way that it was in Orlando the entire time, like we're talking about a completely different player.
yeah.
So then what about Kobe's evolution after Shaq? What within his career after Shaq stops him from moving up the list for you?
I still just like he had those couple years that were just rough, and again he had no one really around him. But like he gets those few chips, that's great. And then but like he's still like the last couple of years of his career, he's just not like he's a one-sided player. Like in my opinion, he's just not like, and that's not a fault. That's just how it goes when you get older, usually, right? Like you're usually taking a lot more off the defensive end. But I just don't think that like, this is a guy that like, again, he's shooting from the mid range a whole bunch. He's not like there's stuff that you can nitpick at that I just don't like. I also just don't think Kobe is as talented naturally as Shaq was. I think Kobe he worked super hard to like overcome those talent, like those deficiencies and all that kind of stuff. But like natural raw talent, like Shaq, like dude was out here like he had great footwork for someone that was 7'1", 320 pounds. Like can still get up and down the floor. You know what I mean? Like I just think that Shaq is a better natural talent, and I think at his height, at his peak, Shaq is a better player than Kobe Bryant. But again, we're talking about like Shaq is 5, Kobe is 8 for me. Like there's not that big of a gap to me.
I agree with some points, disagree with others, but I feel it. I mean,
I mean, I'm willing to listen. Like,
I mean, I think I don't, because it's not a matter of like, I'm not necessarily trying to convince you because I understand your reasoning for where it's there. So it's not so much, I think it's just more so like whatever my perspective would be. I think the natural talent argument is tough because if you 7'1" and you can do that, I mean, hell, it ain't nothing you can do about that. Like it comes naturally.
Yeah,
but
we need to start talking about Giannis.
But my counter would be that Kobe's work. We can. I mean, that's a completely different conversation. I'm very open about Giannis's flaws though. But
perfect.
But yeah, as far as like Kobe, I feel like the work ethic aspect of it, like the fact that he did the work to get that good and become the player that he did, like that somewhat plays a role for me, because if Shaq had the ability to be higher on this list and he just chose to be lazy, why does the natural talent keep him at a certain place? Whereas Kobe working to become better or working to be his best, like the best that he could, like kind of not goes unnoticed, but doesn't hold as much value. Like if we could say if Shaq worked harder, he'd be moving up for us, then the fact that Kobe did work hard for me is why he gets kind of that extra push. But that don't mean understand everything that you were saying or like disagree with all of it either.
I think for me, why I have Shaq, I also have Shaq 5, Kobe 8, is why I have Steph over Akeem, which is just like, yeah, I think you said it too, dominance, like impact on the game. Like Kobe had great impact on the game. The same, he had to have like 3 people on him. He had to have Bruce Bowen's feet kicking at him whenever he's taking a shot. He had people trying to take him out. But so did Shaq. Shaq had people. Hack-a-Shaq was a thing. They're trying they're going to foul out half their team just to make sure that this man puts up free throws on a possession instead of touching the ball. Like I don't know. I just think to like to end off on this note is just he was so impactful and so, you know, such a presence on the court just with his sheer size and with, you know, I don't know, as I said again, his dominance. Like I can't, this it's not tangible to me. I can't put a word on it. It's just different. Yeah, like as a natural talent, like we might not ever see that again. We could see like Kobe clones, we could see like Jordan clones or like whatever, like the footwork can be worked to get there and all that, but you know, like we might not ever, like we're kind of seeing something similar in Giannis, but you know, it's hard to see that again. Now, hey man, he's gonna crack that 10. Say bye-bye to NBA respect, Hakeem. Yeah, he's about to work himself off the list.
Whoa! I don't know about Hakeem. Whoa there.
Hey man, he's 10. Who's the one that's gonna get bumped off?
Whoa there.
Hey, that's all I'm saying.
If Giannis got another ring, you could make the argument against.
I don't think so.
It'd be.
I
mean, it's closer.
I don't know.
Another ring definitely makes it closer.
Give him 3 and then it's over. It's a wrap.
Well,
I think 3 is different, but 2. I mean, I feel like right now Giannis at the highest has to be somewhere between maybe like 16 and 20 at the very highest.
He's got Bob Cousy. I forgot. There
and Bob Pettit still. All right. Elgin Baylor at 2.
Wait, so what? So
George Mike in 14.
How far does the king clear Giannis for you right now, Z?
I'm not ready for my 11 through 20, but I think maybe 2 makes it a conversation I wanted to think about, but I don't know if he just jumps him with one more ring.
No, not jump. Not jump. Just makes it a more interesting conversation. Not
okay,
jump.
I'm willing to say that. Yeah.
For sure.
I think the last thing I'll say about Shaq is that, like, I hear everything you're saying, and that, you know, worked himself. I just think of the other side of the coin that, like, you're saying if it have the same mentality as a demerit against him, and I'm like, yeah, despite not having that, look at that, yeah, like look at how like completely insanely dominant. I don't think like Giannis is a dominant NBA player. Like Jokic is a dominant NBA player, and neither of those dudes are freakishly like I think originally, for instance, you have like 3 or 4 centers play as one dude. Like that's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? So like again, I think that at the peak of their like the best version of them, I think